Gypsy Star Productions presents The Fight of the Gypsy Witch. Written by August Ridge and narrated by a full cast. Copyright 2017. All rights reserved. Chapter 1, Sunstone.
Thrusters on full go.
Systems are on standby.
In the distance, rockets and various spacecraft were rising from the ground and flying toward the bright blue skies above the city landscape. Their fusion engines pushed to maximum thrust to escape the thick atmosphere of the planet. The vapor trails looked as if they were thousands of bright spikes as far as the eye could see, piercing the clouds in the skies above. In 38 minutes, the planet Tiamat would be split in half by a rogue planet's moon called the North Wind, which was on a course to impact the water planet. But in that moment in time, Whiskey was enjoying a cup of coffee while witnessing the last sunrise over the doomed city of Cheyenne. In the middle of an open field outside the boundaries of the city sat a tourist-class spacecraft known as the Gypsy Witch. 65 feet long and 28 feet wide, it resembled that of a turtle with the head being the cockpit. Covering the craft were decals of Hazardous Material Waste Services. The craft's weight was supported by 4 metallic limbs with large claws, which served as landing gear. The curved sides of the spacecraft were extended out from the body like wings, each cradling a large engine. The sun peeked over the silhouetted cityscape like a giant glowing hand pulling or feeling its way along the tops of the buildings. Sitting topside in a white folding chair, facing east toward the sunrise, Whiskey was lit by the warm, bright orange and yellow sphere peeking over the edge of the cityscape. Wearing his favorite hat and eye shades, along with his star boots, he leaned back in the chair with his feet propped up on a cooler. At only 22 years old, he was 6'8" and of solid muscle. Whiskey couldn't help but realize that in less than an hour, all this would be floating through space as part of the celestial garbage. He thought to himself,
Not really a loss. It would have been trashed in 30 years at the rate they were using it up. Like a crippled giant being eaten alive by rats.
He reached over to the coffee pot and poured his last cup. The morning was a little chilly, but feeling the warmth of the sun, he didn't mind the slightly frigid air. The thick steam of the coffee vapors hit the cold air, rose about a foot in the shadow until it hit the edge of the warm sun ray, and then began to dissipate into the light of the sun. Other than the rockets and various spacecraft taking flight, the city had no life. Whiskey had sat there for the last hour watching the horizon. He realized that there were fewer ships now taking off. He looked above him and beyond the purple and orange underside of the clouds. The deep blue morning sky revealed the north wind that seemed not to move, but to loom instead. It showed the engines and power systems switching over to Grace, having full control over the Gypsy Witch. She inspected all startup checklists as Grace continued to run diagnostic tests and maintain temperature control on the engines. With the checklist finally completed, Grace displayed no threats, with all systems normal.
Cross-check final. All external and internal engines and thrusters are online.
Lima put on her helmet. She snapped the chin strap, then slid the visor down to block the sun in front of her. She then reached for the controls of the Gypsy Witch and called out to Grace and the rest of the crew.
Thank you, Grace. All right, everyone, we're in the green. Time to fly.
Lima pushed the throttle forward slowly, and the engines roared with power. The Gypsy Witch lifted off the ground forward, and then banked right as it flew low. Without hesitation, Whiskey turned and ran for the chair stationed in the middle of the ship. Once in, he flipped a switch, making the seat rise toward the ceiling. As he rose up, he put on his eye shades so that he wouldn't be blinded in the bright morning sun. The chair finally came to a stop in the glass canopy at the top of the ship.
Good morning, Grace.
Good morning, Whiskey.
Bring the targeting system and link into Badger's EITS online for me, please.
When the Gypsy Witch came out of the turn, The view revealed a very narrow white building, which resembled a thin, tall mountain. Tanga turned to see the warm, bright sun was full in the sky above the cityscape.
4,
The last day on the planet Tiamat was beginning.
3,
Finally, they flew through the last imaginary virtual ring on the canopy
2.
glass. Grace increased the power and raced up the
1.
final length of the elevators to the platform above. They broke the sound barrier just before they reached the south edge of the platform.